I refused to walk my sister down the aisle after asking my wife to stay at home because her pregnancy will take attention away from her on her special day. My father passed away when I was 22, and my sister was 25. With this in mind, my sister, after getting engaged, asked me if I would do the honor of walking her down the aisle. At first, I was elated, so I enthusiastically agreed. Then, things quickly changed after my sister realized that my wife was pregnant. In the preceding months, my sister made my wife's life hell, who initially had been one of her bridesmaids but was relatively recently informed that she would not be one. Originally, it was fine, but as my wife's pregnancy became visible, my sister would, at times, taunt her and make rude comments towards her. During her bachelorette party, she even yelled at her because she was ruining her fun by being too distracting and not drinking. The ensuing onslaught resulted in my wife being removed as one of her bridesmaids. She even left my pregnant wife on the side of the road as my sister made her way to a party planned, in part, by my wife and in a limousine paid for by me. This, coupled with the fact that she had recently asked me to ask my wife to stay at home because her pregnancy will take attention away from her on her special day, just broke me. I called her up yesterday after I found out what she had said to my wife, and I told her that I would not be attending the wedding and that she would have to find someone else to walk her down the aisle. That's when the calls began. Everyone has been calling me, telling me that I am overreacting and that I am intentionally trying to sabotage her wedding. She even called to yell at me and told me she had always hated that beach while referring to my wife. I told her to F off. Of course, my mother has been extremely sympathetic towards my wife, and she agrees with me. My wife has been crying over this, and she has herself received an onslaught of messages. I blocked all my relatives and am planning a trip to Disneyland for my wife and me on the day of my sister's wedding, as I already booked the days off from work, and Disney is where my wife and I went on our first date when we lived in LA. This news has started its onslaught. Update, so I unblocked my relatives, who had called me to convince me to walk my sister down the aisle. Most apologized and didn't know how poorly my sister treated my wife. A few even canceled going to the wedding and were appalled at the fact that my sister decided to kick my pregnant wife out of the car and leave her on the side of the road. The groom didn't care much and said that this was a personal family matter in which he shouldn't involve himself. My mother is attending but has just adopted the attitude of once I get this done, she'll be out of my hair once and for all. Now, as for my sister, she apparently texted me a bunch. Then, this very morning, she showed up at my firm in New York. I sat her down and allowed her to explain herself, but she refused to apologize. She tried to make herself seem like she was making the right decision by saying she was just looking out for my wife and baby's health. To which I reminded her how she tried to bully my pregnant wife into doing shots. Then she tried to guilt me, saying that our father would have disapproved of me trying to ruin her wedding if he was alive. She said blood is more important, which is ironic considering this is about her wedding. Then she got aggressive, telling me that I was ruining her wedding, and proceeded to say horrific things about my wife. Angered, I told her to get out of my office and never come to my office or house again, or I'd get a restraining order. She left, cursing me and my wife out. Also, we're still going to Disneyland.